Welcome back to the vlog. Come watch our reaction to the Mustang Meet.
So now that I'm back here with Megan and my phone died, we'll do some follow-up. The first piece of follow-up, during the car show, I walked by that Badlands Bronco, but it was kind of funny because later, I was near that, insulting it, basically, because I was like, it's insane all the crap, and I've probably said this on the vlog a bunch, the stuff they wadded four doors onto, like a Porsche Panamera, not bad, but ugly as all hell for a Porsche. Speaking of Porsche, Xbox voting or entry. But yeah, I'm like yeah, like Porsche, and then like the Mini Cooper. The Mini Cooper's supposed to be this tiny little nimble thing, and then like a Fiat 500. Yeah, and like the Jeep, the Bronco, all those things. Like if you want to pop out a bunch of kids where you need something that big, either don't have the kids or like it was easy to do a two-door Wrangler with one, so it's like it wouldn't be that bad with two. So it's like if you're gonna have 4 or 5 kids, that's part of the problem. Like then at that point, yeah, then you don't get a Porsche, you don't get a Mini Cooper, you don't get a Bronco, you don't get a Wrangler, whatever. Like they just want to make all these things family cars, and it's obnoxious because it's like, and that's another thing too. Is like if you're a big fan of Porsche and you have a bunch of kids, if you have the money to get one, you can get one that isn't a Panamera, and like some of them still have a back seat. Like you don't need to make the car ugly just to make it easier to get into the back seat. Like a 4-door, like a 2-door and 4-door Wrangler, besides like the fact there's storage behind the back seat, aren't any different really. A little more legroom, but for children that doesn't matter. But it ran 2 passes, and I was baffled. Try to guess what it ran in the 8th. 11:34.
Oh, that's funny. I was going to guess 12.
That's pretty dang fast for what it is. I mean, like, that's beating a lot of the Mustangs that were out there. And then for the follow on the Mustangs, yeah. Because there were a couple that like came later. There was an 04 Cobra. But, okay, so there were 3. Because I think I learned a lot about Mustang drivers. They're terrified to do a burnout. They're also too stupid to understand what a burnout does. I mean, that was one guy, but I'll get to that. And then like the meetings you see where they crash, quite reasonable. But yeah, like, so that 302, that orange Boss 302, apparently had been swapped out to a 7.3 with a turbo, which it didn't sound like a turbo. Maybe the guy in the tower had no idea what he was talking about, but it was, because someone would have corrected him eventually, if, like, at least on the swap out for the engine. But he got, like, his best pass was 790s. And I mean, the truck's done 8.1s on the street, so that would be a good race. And then I think I got one where, I think it was one of the bullet ones, maybe not, but it was a green, fairly recent late model, that he was actually doing a burnout and get his tires good and sticky. He was running about an 8 flat, so that'd be a good race. That Cobra Jet, the guy mentioned that he changed the suspension and hadn't been able to get it to hook good. I think 640 was his best, but he was sitting about a 660, so obviously that would dust the truck pretty bad. I think I called it a Falcon because I'm an idiot. But that Fairlane, that white one with the black hood, it never got better than like a 980. But it's funny because apparently, I don't know if he bought it, because I'm 90% sure he wasn't who owned it back when I raced with him, and then he was at the Montana Fun Weekend. But apparently that's Bill Biggers from here in Butte. And any of you that have been to Lost Creek, that guy doesn't have a cigar in his mouth. And at one point, like, it ran an 11.5. It ran a horrible pass. And his son was talking to somebody within earshot, and he was like, oh yeah, of course, he's like, it's got a fuel leak, and it's in part of the fuel system that's pressurized, so it's spraying fuel, and of course, literally with the cigar in his mouth, it's squirting into Bill's face, and he still keeps the cigar going.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Well, cigarettes can't light gas. They don't burn hot enough. You can put a cigarette out in gas. Ask my dad. He'll show you. Because one time I was like, there's no way, and he put a little cup of gas and put a cigarette out on it.
Well, how is it that if you smoke with oxygen on, then you can blow your face up then?
It's probably more the lighting process, not the smoking. But also when you suck on them, they heat up because, like, you know how they glow brighter when you're sucking. It might be when it's because, like, I think if you took like a cigarette and dipped it in gas as you're like it might then. Who knows? But like if you just have it like sitting there idle. But yeah, that car never ended up making a very great pass. But the funny thing is like you guys probably seen the 66 Fairlane, the green one that looked super factory. It outran that 63 with the wide tires like a bunch of times. Maybe that's why I mixed it up. Maybe the one I'm thinking of is a Falcon. But yeah, I gotta switch hands. Let's do this. And then you can edit that there so it'll look weird and nobody will know what's happening. But yeah, but it was kind of funny because, like I said, the one that was doing good burnouts and was actually hooking, because most of them were burning their tires to like the 100-foot. But then I overheard this guy that's like, with street tires, you don't want to do a burnout. And it's like, the pits there are dirt. At minimum, you want to do like a little spin to get the dust and dirt off. But none of them were hooking up. There was like 4 or 5 that like full on got wiggly. The really cool wide body one, he spun every time. Oh, and I guess back to the 302 that had the slicks and stuff. That was apparently swapped out for the 7.3. He could not shift, I think it was he. I don't think they ever said a woman's name. But like, because like if you know how to shift a stick fast, you can shift right with a factory automatic. Like obviously not a race built automatic. But you kick the clutch and yank. It's just like fat. It's fast. Every time his nose was dropping, RPMs are coming down. Like either he didn't want to, or he doesn't know how to do it right. So he probably could have shaved a couple tenths off if he'd have ran it actually hard. But then it was kind of funny because the one that I know I didn't get, it was that blue 04 Cobra. Like, he was basically hot lapping, and he got where he was shifting pretty good, and he was from Townsend, and the tower kept going like, oh yeah, like, you're not that far away, just start coming and racing every race weekend. But yeah, and then the funny thing, too, is, like, during some downtime at one point, the commentator was like, I thought it would have been kind of funny if a Camaro would have came out here. I was like, oh, God, it's about to start some shit. And then, like, I tried to get in a fight with a Mustang on the highway. I was like, as bad as they did at the track compared with the TRX could do, I'm in a bully one. But there was one right in front of me, like, yeah! And then they turned towards the Anaconda. Then there was one, like, 2 cars behind me at the stop sign, and I kind of tried to get out slow, but then there was too much traffic, so they ended up way behind me. Then there was one off in the distance. Nathan's like, catch him! I'm like, look down, I'm going like 85 in a 70, and I'm like, not catching him. Don't have enough space. I might have caught him like right as I had to turn, so wouldn't have been worth it. But oh yeah, and then I think I might have mentioned that before I lost the vlog. God, they don't know how to do anything when it comes to drag racing, because it's like I started racing high school class, and right away, like the guys, like you do your burnout, they stop you, then they're like they wave you in to go into the beams. The number of them that like hit it like they were leaving a stop sign and rolled right through the beams was astronomical to me. Like, you've got, like, 15... When they stop you, you have, like, about 15 feet to get in the beams. Like, you just got to kind of ease up there, like the top beams, the top bulb. But, yeah, like... I mean, obviously, Bill Biggers, he raced out there all the time in a different vehicle. Like, he was cutting great lights. He got a 008 at one point, so... I think he did twice, like... a 00 something twice. So he cut great lights, but my God, the number of them cutting like full second lights was astronomical to me. And then there was the yellow Boss 302, 69 Boss 302. At one point, I think I might have caught that. Like when he was like at the line, and I don't know what he thought he was doing, but it seemed like he had it pinged. It started puffing white smoke. Then he dumped the clutch and started wheel hopping. Like, the number of Mustang people that can't get off the line in a drag race, and then like the number of them that it was like, you have to have your windows up, and it's like they're like having to be like windows up, like, oh God, makes me afraid to drive around Mustang people. Yeah. Trying to think if there's anything else eventful, but yeah.
Did you talk about the truck guy? Okay, and guy.
Oh, yeah, I did that earlier. That guy still baffles me. Because that's like I told Megan, I compared it to like the toxicity with the console wars, where it's like, I love Xbox, but they haven't really done anything in like a decade. Like Halo Infinite's a little bit meh. The multiplayer's packed with microtransactions. Like cramming into a like kind of open world isn't that great. 5 was like trash. Like, and then Gears 4 tried to do the wide linear thing where you had like explorable areas and kind of went away from the theme. Like, because the Forza games, they're packed with live service stuff, but they're still pretty good. But like, I mean, they let Fable go away until the new one comes out, which is looking good, I'll admit. But it's like when you get in and like talk like someone online and they're an Xbox fan, it's like, we're the best ever. PlayStation's crap. You're a Sony pony. It's like, I said Sony has some pretty good exclusives. That's literally all I said. And all of a sudden I'm a Sony pony and you're yelling at me? Like, I love Xbox just as much. I grew up on Nintendo and love them probably more than either of them if I really had to pick. But I don't go screeching about it. And that's what this guy seemed like. It was just like, oh, hey, like, I love my Ford to this point where, like, I'm going to make shit up. And, like, if you put aftermarket parts in that Roush and it beat a TRX, cool. Like, just say, yeah, I did this to it and it beat a TRX. But, I mean, unless maybe, like, because it was when I was working at a car dealer, so I could kind of drive whatever they had there used. So maybe it had something broke. But no. Like, that Roush ain't either. And, well, and then that's the thing, too. He said, like, he raced his sisters. Maybe she didn't use launch control. Maybe it was new to her. Maybe something where she just screwed up out of the hole or something. But there is no way.
Well, even I was going to say, imagine racing against you versus racing against me.
Yeah.
In the truck, because, I mean, we all saw what happened when I tried to use launch control. But, like, different drivers and different experience levels and different...
Well, yeah, because then that's like when he was like, oh, yeah, you know what happens. Like, go look at all the videos. It's like, I've never seen one where it was more than a truck length. And, like, you're trying to act like the R is going to, like, just dust the TRX every time. Like, I mean, that's the thing. Like, I grew up Chevy guy. Love Chevy. I mentioned this earlier. Like, but, like, right now, like, no. Like, even, like, with the send-out for the Camaro, everybody speculated they do some cool final package. No, there's some, like, slight tweaks to the paint scheme and some, like, special stickers on them. Like, no. GM has been trash for, well, I mean, not trash, but compared, like, when you're going for, like, performance stuff outside the vet and, like, the ZL1 Camaro, which is still sweet, but, like, they never do anything special with it. They don't do, like, something like the Demon 170 or the Shelby GT500. They don't do anything. It's like the ZL, well, I mean, I guess the ZL1 is kind of like the GT500. And, I don't know. The Demon isn't really, like, road course. So, but yeah, like, it's like, I love Chevy, and I grew up on Chevy, and I still love the classic Chevys, but lately they haven't done anything, and like, if you can't be like, hey, the thing I love doesn't do good anymore. Like, if you can't be honest about that, maybe you should get a different hobby and, like, come in new instead of being a fanboy about something.
It just made me think of a thing. It's kind of interesting in my opinion.
How beautiful you are.
I actually did get called pretty today. Anyway.
Who are they?
Residents.
Oh. Are they enough for me to punch? I'm teasing.
No, like you were just saying that you like grew up on Chevy or whatever, right?
You grew up on not knowing what cars are.
Well, that's kind of the... that's not the point I'm trying to make. The point I'm trying to make is... It's kind of interesting because if you think about it, like the vehicles I did love when I was growing up of my families or whatever. Well, okay, I didn't love this one, but my mom had a Toyota. But then my dad had a Chevy Silverado. My two grandpas both had Dodge trucks. I don't know what my grandpa's brown truck was. But that's like a variety of things, kind of.
Yeah.
Because not that I love my mom's minivan either, but my mom had a Honda after she had the Toyota. And then my grandma had like I think it was a little Toyota car that I cried when they got rid of it. That's the first time I found out what happens to cars when they go bye-bye. That they get squished.
Oh, it was like trash, not sold.
Oh no, it was like, that's like the Toyota that I just said, like, that my mom had. I think when she traded it in to get the Honda, she got like $50 out of that thing. Like, it was, you could only, I think it was either on the outside or the inside, I don't remember. You could only open with one of the door handles.
This is what breaks my brain.
I think it's the inside.
Tote to the scrapyard. They will give you like the weight. It's not prepared. But I mean, like, even if scrap's low, you'll get a couple $100 out of it for scrap. Jeez.
But yeah, like,
these Californians.
Cause like, I think part of it is, so like my dad's truck, I obviously like grew up with it. Oh, he had a Toyota truck before that, but I don't really remember that. But I grew up with that truck. My one grandpa's truck was like a giant diesel, which I just thought was cool when I was a kid and always wanted to drive it. I'm still sad that that got sold to somebody, but whatever. And then my other grandpa's truck / Durango, because he also had a Durango. But those two, that's like what I learned to drive in. Pretty much, because he'd let me drive home from school. And I guess I don't really remember my grandma's second car. I don't know what it was. But that one, I did the same thing, like she'd let me drive home from school. It's just interesting.
So that's one last thought, because I think I might have mentioned that at some point. It felt like it was like 60% Canadians. And that, you know, if you go through the video from the car show, you can look if you really want to like go kind of slow and do math. Which, if you do that, put it in the comments, you'd be cool. But yeah, it's kind of intriguing because like there was some like Oregon, Washington, Montana, Idaho. I didn't see really any from off east. So with it being the international, which, like I said, I think I mentioned that, like I was thinking it'd be cool, but I didn't expect any from Europe or anything like that. It's like obviously kind of a US-Canada thing. But I wonder, because it like next year it's in Calgary, but I wonder like obviously because it's the 44th annual and I've never heard of it. So clearly it moves around the country. So like when it's off like in like Pennsylvania, is there anybody from over here? Because, you know, I don't think there was anybody, well, I mean, further east in Montana, but I don't think there was anybody east of Billings. So it's kind of intriguing because, like, once they have it over in that part of the country, I mean, does nobody from here, this part of the country, show up? It's kind of interesting. And it shows, like, that loyalty is a little bit low because you think about, like, people that are, like, because, like, I mean, it moves, but the Division 6 finals for the drag racing here, like, one year it was in Yakima, Washington, which is, like, right almost to the coast. So you have people, like, clear from here, Idaho, I think the Dakotas are in Division 6, driving clear there. So, I mean, like, with roughly the same distance of driving, you should have had, like, cars from, like, Fargo at this.
Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share it with your friends, and we'll see you in the next one.